Greetings, colleagues. We're going to begin just now. Please ensure that you sign the attendance register for purposes of minuting. And then we will have to begin in a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. We will start our meeting with prayer and meditation. So if we could just take a moment for that, please. Thank you. We are on application of leave of absence. We Nonto Mamela, and then the late arrival of the COO, Novuyo, and then also the leave of absence on Councillor Mazibatela. No, it's actually late coming as well. So they'll be joining us maybe just after 10 o'clock or around that time. The other leave of absence will be processed as per the policy of the city. We, of course, have the 72 hours to follow on that particular process. Councillor, then we have the and colleagues, we are now going to move to the minutes for consideration. Is the minutes for the Section 79A on Standing Committee Public Accounts of the meeting held on the 7th of February 2020. Sure. Yes.
No, thank you very much.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Just before you embark on the minutes, as a long-serving member of this committee, I thought it will be correct for us to do a special welcome to the new members of this committee. What triggers that is the recent activities around the new members of this committee. And it will be irresponsible of us as senior members of this committee not to prepare them for the road ahead. I'm saying this on the basis that one of the 4 new members is a former member already. The former executive mayor couldn't even last 2 meetings. Councillor Mazibatela is here, former MMC, leader of governance business or executive business. Councillor T. Anderson is here, as a former member of Community Safety. Councillor Sutton is a living testimony who can tell you many stories about what conflict of interest is about. Because they are members, former members of the executive. Most of the time they will find themselves being confused as members of this committee as to how do they handle an issue on the table, because they might be conflicted. Because a few months ago they presided over those issues as members of the executive. And that goes to this committee as to, going forward, how do we legally handle this issue of conflict of interest? Because it might be a tricky situation where you find a former MMC sitting here interrogating a report that he presided over in the executive. And I don't know how are we going to handle that situation as the committee when we arrive at that point. So one, or as a committee, would have to get counsel as to how do we deal with that situation when we arrive there, so that we don't find ourselves caught wanting. Welcome, colleagues. This is Municipal Public Accounts Committee. It's a very, they normally refer to it as a career limiting committee politically. It all goes with how you conduct and handle the issues that you are confronted with. From ourselves, we are here to give you support as and when you come across difficult situations where you end up becoming confused. But Chair, legally, officially, we'll have to get advice as to what is it that we do when we get to that point. And lastly, let me wish our former member, the executive mayor, bring well in his future endeavors, as he could not last in this committee. I thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor Marshall. Is there a hand? Oh, yes. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you for that hearty welcome, Councillor. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not aware of any legislation or any legality that will prevent me from participating in this meeting. So you are welcome to find a legal opinion in that regard. I'm here to add value to what needs to be done in this committee and nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. As we move right along, we have the. Is there another hand? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Councillor.
I was going to just speak a bit about the status of soccer in South Africa. Seeing that we're just giving opinions in this meeting this morning. But for the sake of time, I will not. But Chair, conflict of interest is a matter that every single councillor needs to adjust for themselves, and there's a formal process to follow for that. I do not, and I suggest that if anybody wants to know the reasons why Brink has left the committee, they can ask him. I'm not going to speculate. He has not discussed those with me. But just the mere fact that a person was involved in a report or tabled a report in council doesn't bring per se a conflict of interest. But it's common and it's process that should a member feel that there's a conflict of interest with a report that serves in a committee or council, they can excuse themselves and leave the chamber and inform you of that. And I think we can proceed in that way. I can't foresee that any reports that any member or former member of the executive was involved with in a MACO session being tabled in council and then comes to impact will create a conflict of interest. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Mazibatela.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you for the warm welcome, Deputy Chief Whip. Maybe just to clarify a quick one, as the Chief Whip of the Opposition, it is my prerogative to deploy and move people as I see fit, and I saw fit that Alderman Brink must be removed to go and focus on the upcoming elections so that we can get a decisive majority in the upcoming elections. So I am here, and it is me that you will have to now be dealing with. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. It's getting interesting as time goes. Thanks a lot, councillors. Before we go to the minutes, I was informed that I don't think this. Okay, let's go, Councillor Tsepo.
Chairperson, one thing that is important in MPEC is institutional memory and consistency. Maybe as we have the Chief Whip of the Opposition, we request from yourself that let's try to keep it stable on your side, because the changes on your side are too many sometimes. So assist us there. Since we have the Chief Whip, we can remain the same for at least 6 months or 8 months or so. We'll be very happy. We would love that so that we can build this team without political lines, be able to hold the administration accountable. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councillor. We will now entertain the minutes of the 7th of February 2024. Now, 2025, my apology, I can see it was erroneously noted as 2024. It is the Section 79A Standing Committee on Public Accounts meeting held on the 7th of February 2025. The minutes were circulated. If we may get comments or corrections on the minutes, if you did pick up anything that was erroneously captured or not captured. Yes, let's go, Councillor. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the minutes, the first item, we make mention of Councillor Bushielo. Councillor Bushielo is no longer a member of this committee. Thank you, Chair.
That is noted. The Secretariat will attend to it. Thank you. Any other comment or correction? Okay. Thank you, councillors. The minutes, therefore, are duly adopted. How we're going to also then proceed is that we will deal with the minutes of the confidential reports when you go in committee, so that we don't delay the House unnecessarily. If that is allowed, colleagues. Thank you. We also have an announcement. I think we'll be delighted to maybe know that today is the birthday of our COO, Mayor Vuyo. We just want to say happy birthday to you, and may you have a prosperous year ahead. Thank you.
Much appreciated, Chair. I feel so loved. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. We will then go to part 4, which is the matters arising, is the Municipal Public Accounts Committee Process Plan for 2024-2025 financial year. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. At the last meeting, we passed a lot of recommendations for certain reports, like we did a monthly report on the SAP 400 project. There should be an unauthorized regular fruitless and wasteful expenditure report. And The big one is the integrity management framework. We have asked it to be updated to reflect the circulars that Impact has adopted, and we desperately want to see that report coming. So if you can just make a note that there are things that should be on matters arising in the last minutes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other input? Oh, yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in terms of the process plan on page 8, inspection and local at the Metro Police Uniform Depot, it says it's outstanding. Same has been completed, Chair. Can the process plan reflect same?
Thank you. The Secretariat will attend to it. Is there any other input? Yes, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair, I'm new to this committee, but I'm missing something on the process plan, which I think would be very handy for the members of this committee. I would like to sponsor an additional recommendation, and that is that an annexure be attached to the process plan, which contains a register of outstanding reports called for during impact meetings, and it will contain the following information: the date the report was requested, the report subject, required report content, report requested by, target date, and any comments. I wish to propose this amendment to the current, or an additional recommendation to the current recommendations, and it was also Councillor Siping has seconded my recommendation.
Thank you. The Secretariat will assist with the collection of the additional recommendation. Any comments? Councillor Tsepo, yes.
I think it goes through our tracking systems. We usually have a tracking system where we build track. It's just the reporting on that. But whatever is required, if he's asking for, there's a system in place for that. It's just that maybe reporting to MPEG on the tracking system. We usually get it once in a week of tracking the reports of being called and whatnot. But we just maybe could say it should be on a monthly basis or how. But it's just a tracking system that in your office you should have something. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, Chair, I think it's still part of the process plan, because those reports must serve in front of the committee, and it's just good to keep track of outstanding and when things can be expected from the administration, and that's why I made this suggestion. So that's the only reason. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's wait for the Secretariat to bring the recommendation to us to be read it on record, and then proceed accordingly. Thank you very much, colleagues. I have here in my possession the additional recommendation, and it reads that an annexure be attached to the process plan, which contains a register of outstanding reports called during the MPEG meetings as per the following table, and the table should have the date, the report of the date of the report requested, the report subject, required report content, required or report requested by, which is the sponsor, the target date or due date, then the comments. Then it is proposed by 2003 in-year financial report, monthly and quarterly, quarter two budget statement for the period ending the 31st.
This one is more financial. The thing that says there was delay in capturing of record will say we have a surplus while we don't have, or it will be difficult to get to see the true sense of what's happening in the city from the financial statement, because we don't know which records and the amount of the records, and if we add them or subtract them, what impact do they have on the finances and the reflection of the finances that we have in the report that we are studying. And I wanted to check the impact of those outstanding records and how will they impact the following financial. Will they reflect? How will they reflect in the next financial statement? Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The councillor is noted, and then will be followed by the councillor from VF Plus, and then the Thank you.
Chairperson. Thanks for the opportunity. I think just want to ask 3 specific questions in relation to the report, in your financial report, period ending on the 31st of December. The first question is in relation to the current liabilities that exceed current assets with 3.7 billion. Chairperson, it has been in this, it has been cited in various reports, and I just want to understand exactly, because if that is the situation, then it indicates that there is a potential liquidity problem which has a negative working capital situation, and it cannot be left unattended. So the question is that, the first question is in relation to that, is that how long can this problem persist? Is it a short-term problem, or is going to be a long-term problem? And what at the current and immediate situation is happening to change the problem, Chairperson, in terms of the current liabilities that we've been facing. The second issue is in relation to our debtors credit age analysis, which also it indicates in the report that there is an outstanding amount of 20.1 billion in total debtors. So I just wanted to check how far are we in terms of having an action improvement plan to ensure that our debtors are being paid in compliance with MFMA within 30 days. The other issue, Chairperson, is that the report arrived is a 2-month-old report. Situation might have changed or might have worsened. Perhaps we'll need updated report in other issues that we'll be raising, particularly because other issues in the report have been resolved by council approved adjustment budget, like contracted services that were having unfavorable amount of 493 million. I think that was attended through the adjustment budget being approved. But lastly, Chairperson, I think this goes to CM. CM will see a letter wrote to MEC of Finance in relation to non-compliance of Section 71, 72 and Section 70 and 52 of MFMA. But what is missing there is the response from the MEC. I'm not sure whether the MEC responded, and if he responded, what was the content of his response, because there is non-compliance need to be ensured that there are remedial actions, that it doesn't repeat itself again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Chingsi, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm covered by the previous speaker, so I withdraw.
Thank you, Councillor Peter.
Just a few points, and I just want to share the comment made by the colleague across the room. Chair, if we know the information is available. We've already had the adjustments budget that served in council in February, but we're only getting the in-year report now, and this advises the adjustments budget. So I really want to urge, Chair, that we can look at processes that where we have the reports referred from council, that we do get them at impact quicker, because they are in existence. They don't need to be recreated. We do have them, because it just makes it easier. It's a bit difficult to do oversight over this now, with the conclusion already of all the other processes. But there's just a few things I want to highlight, which is quite important, and that is revenue collection on the report obviously looks good from a favorable position with a surplus, but we need to bear in mind, and what's very important is that excludes, if you exclude the capital receipts, we're actually on just shy of a 2 billion rand under collection in the first 6 months of the financial year. And that's a major concern. We should all be concerned with that. It's not a new thing, but it just shows that there's a lot of work needed. So we're not suddenly out of the woodwork, and there's a lot of work to be done. My colleague spoke about the debtors book, but if we go to the creditors' age analysis on page 54, I see the ESCOM has substantially increased from the previous period, a lot more than what it was. And I know we did enter into this payment arrangement with ESCOM. But please, can I just get clarity? Are we honoring that ESCOM payment plan? Have we negated on that ESCOM payment plan? So in other words, has there been any month since we entered that plan that we have not paid on time? And the one thing we don't know is what's the consequences should we negate on that payment plan? And specifically what concerns me, if I can just get a yes or no or clarification on this, ESCOM has previously indicated that in a case in a municipality like the city of Tshwane, if we negate on a payment plan, they can revoke our distribution license and they can take over the distribution of electricity in the city of Tshwane. Is that one of the conditions, or are there any conditions? Rather, let me rephrase the question. Is there any conditions in that payment plan that we should be concerned about should we negate on this payment plan? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes, Councillor.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson. Yeah, mine is just really a comment, really, also a concern about the revenue collection, especially in terms of these service charges regarding electricity, waste management, wastewater management, because there were negative revenue collections in that regard. And my question is really to the officials, what plans do they have in terms of trying to improve this situation? Because it's impacting very negatively on revenue stability of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll get some, okay, so before the CFO and the CM chips in, let's go, Councillor.
Chair, in relation to the letter sent to the MEC, it's mentioned that the shortcomings have identified, same have been addressed, and disciplinary measures were instituted along the value chain. My question in this regard is that, are we now going to see the names of the officials who were responsible for this delay on the consequence management report later on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. CFO.
Sure, thank you so much. Greetings to yourself, members of MPEC, CM, and all my colleagues. I think I'll start with the first question in terms of the delay in capturing invoices and what our plans are as a city to try and mitigate this from occurring in the near future. Firstly, Chair, we are in intense deliberations with the power utility in terms of trying to encourage them to move forward their submission and verification of invoices. We've got standing committees where we have regular engagement with the power utility. Amongst others is, of course, the discussion of debt repayment plan, as well as us coordinating our activities on submission of invoices and various project management issues. I think that's a platform that we're utilizing to try and solicit earlier submissions. But in the meantime, commitments have been captured, hence we are aware of the matters of concern. But I think what we were considering in terms of the applicability in the financial system, of course, is to raise provisions on these accounts. Might not reflect in the statement of financial performance, yes, but it will then reflect in the statement of financial position, and then upon submission, we'll then do journals to reclassify from the balance sheet to the performance statement. I think that's our plan in terms of resolving some of these issues on the delayed capturing of invoices. Other invoices which are delayed emanating from other services that are rendered, we allow this to allow additional scrutiny. For argument's sake, if there's invoices that are still being captured for waste management, we allow this process. We're also instituting a new system now where we are withholding or I think generalizing some of the amounts for landfill costs. So that needs sufficient time for scrutiny. Yes, we're also pressing on the team to try and put systems in place so that it's in line with the reporting structures of council. But of course, at year end, these are matters that we definitely finalize as a result of shortening the reporting process. So we're confident, Chair, that in the near future, issues of this nature will be resolved. But what further gives us comfort is that we are fully aware of the commitment, and the commitment have been captured in our books. It's just a matter of them reflecting in the statement of financial performance. In terms of the current liabilities exceeding the current assets in the midterm, we have actually registered an improvement in comparison to the previous cycle. We're sitting at 0.4. We currently sit at 0.6. The ideal target is for us to be at 1 is to 1.5. We are slowly working towards reaching those targets. These are further matters that have been acknowledged through the midterm engagement that we had with National Treasury. So I think we're on the right path in terms of ensuring that all our current assets would be in a position to cover the liabilities of the city in the short term. We are anticipating that once we're at a stage where the budget is funded, we should be in a position to have an increase in terms of our ability to capture and to cover all current assets. So this is not an issue that we are aiming or planning to persist for a period in excess of 36 months. We're aiming for the next financial year cycle to have a funded budget, hence the processes in terms of making sure that our current ratio is in line with National Treasury recommendations, or at least at a 1-to-1 ratio. We are targeting the upcoming financial year. The reduction of debtors, I think it was a significant matter of concern. Recently, we've come up with a number of strategies to first ensure that we collect. Amongst others is the Rapid Response Unit in the form of a PMO that emulates Tshwane team across all 7 regions on a daily basis. We've seen the functioning of the PMO, we've seen the value that it's adding with us to ensure that we will rapidly accelerate even further to see further reductions. We also incorporate litigation systems within the PMO. It's the value chain that's aligned for the entire revenue management. But I think further, what we're doing with this, because we've seen that bulk of our debt is 18 billion of our debt is in excess of 365 days, which then of course lessens our ability to ensure that we are able to collect that. Even in the financial statement of the city, bulk of the debt is impaired, and we are saying to the AG and all stakeholders and users of financial statements that our ability to pay their share has been minimized, and hence the preparation of a debt incentive and write-off scheme that has recently been approved by Council and is currently under implementation. These are some of the solutions that we're putting on board to try and ensure that we reduce the debtors book. But in the same breath, we're also putting systems in place to improve on metering and ensure that current accounts and accounts within the 90-day period are paid in a timeliest period in order to avoid them falling into the 365 days. I think on the reduction of creditors, we do currently have a solid plan in place. It had served at various council structures of council. It's currently under implementation from management. Contracted services, I think Honourable Council, you are correct. We've managed to correct this through the adjustment budget processes. The letter that we have written to the MEC in terms of the late submission of the report, it was a notification. We normally don't expect a response on it. It's in compliance with the law that we have notified them, and we have put in place remedial actions to try and ensure that firstly the issue has been remedied, and secondly the system in place to avoid this from reoccurring in the near future. As compared to payment plan from Honourable Councillor Sutton, I think we can confirm that in the report that we're presenting here on page 54 that you have just referenced, the debt for the power utility is sitting at an amount of about 6.2 billion rand. If you take note that we signed the debt repayment plan with the power utility of 6.6 billion. So at this reporting time, we'd already reduced the debt by 400 million rand. Further to that, we've ensured the payment of full current accounts, which of course then gives confidence that we have not reneged against the plan and we are in line. Further to that, Chair, we've got a full report on report number 4, page 165, which clearly outlines the management of the power utilities account as well as rent, water, and all other bulk service providers. So I think at this stage in time, we are in full compliance with that repayment plan. There are no signs of us reneging on the plan anytime soon. We have ensured the full payment of the current account from November, the date of signing, till to date. In fact, as we speak now, we have eliminated more than 600 million of the arrears, and we should be going below the 6 billion rand mark in the next cycle, which is something that we are particularly excited about. And I think just to add on this, we are regularly receiving appreciation letters from the power utility in terms of the management of the ESCOM account from now moving forward. Hence, the chances of us defaulting and the systems that we put in place has significantly increased here. On the revenue collection, well, the concerns that we're raising on revenue collection, we're seeing a negative balance in service charges under the council. We have put in place an acceleration plan purely aimed at mitigating the shortcomings for the funding plan. This was also an essential focus item that was presented as an annexure to council as well in terms of our plans on laying a solid foundation for funded budget in the near cycle. So this is the plan that is currently under motion. Within that plan, the significant items we've already seen fruits of that particular acceleration plan, and we are confident that it should be in a position to help us to alleviate the negative balance that you had seen on the service charges as your concern. Chair, I think these are the questions I would like to give comments on. Thank you.
Chairperson, Chairperson, then we have not yet received a response from the NEC, and so that's the first point. The second is that we have corrected that non-compliance 4 days after the council meeting of the 28th. No, the end of January, sorry. And we have had a special council, there was a special council meeting where that particular report was then properly tabled. So the non-compliance was then corrected, but as I said, we're still awaiting the response from the NEC. Secondly, the misconduct that would have given rise to the non-submission does not rise to the level of financial misconduct or serious misconduct. They were then in fact dealt with at a lower level. To the best of my knowledge, there were warnings that were given to staff members. So you will not, Chairperson, see their names in the consequence management report because they do not rise to that level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sia. Are we covered, colleagues? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say to the CFO, good work and well done to him and his team. I think it's very good news to hear, and they're doing really good work there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, Councillor Zwandile.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before Peter, we give congratulatory messages. Just a quick one. Peter asked a question around what are the consequences of failure to adhere to this arrangement that we have with ESCOM. We didn't get that from the CFO. If we fail to comply with this arrangement that we have with ESCOM, what would be the consequences thereof? Thanks, Chair.
CFO, CM.
Yes, I can take that one. The arrangement with Eskom, Chairperson, has been made an order of court. So, it being an order of court, if there is then a non-compliance, they would then be able to go back to court and hold us in contempt. They would also be able to claim the entire outstanding amount as in the normal course of events. But certainly there is no question around the license. The license is not part of this arrangement. The license only comes into play where there was a forgiveness of debt. If you recall the scheme that we applied for, but we have said that we are not interested in that scheme should our license be at stake. There's no question around the license, and it's an order of court, as I've indicated. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Covered, colleagues? As recommended? Thank you. We'll go to report number 2. It's from Group Financial Services, Supply Chain Management Division. Deviation report approved for first quarter of 2024-2025 financial year in terms of the supply chain management regulation 36 of the Local Government Municipal Finance Management Act 2003, Act number 56 of 2006. The report is found on page 66 to page 71 with recommendations on page 71. Any takers? Councillor Tennyson.
Thank you, Chair. On this item, I'm slightly concerned about a couple of matters. Paragraph 3 on page 68, it is stated that deviations from the official supply chain process are recommended by bid adjudication committee and approved by the accounting officer. However, in the table on page 69, under the SCM comments, it is stated that it's not supported, so it's confusing. I don't understand. In one paragraph we say it's been recommended, and in the table with the details it says it's not supported. So I would like to get clarity on that matter. Then on page 70, Chairperson, there's a list of approximately 8 reasons of non-compliance. I'm not going to read all of them, but what is concerning, in view of this list, it seems that it has been declared as an irregular expenditure in terms of Section 32, but clarity is whether this is approved for or declared as irregular expenses. And then I also need to know, are there any consequences for anybody in view of the matters listed on page 70 in the areas of non-compliance? If so, would anybody be held responsible or not? And why will there be no consequences should nobody be held responsible? And then I'm just asking the question, if that is the case, that there should be consequences, then I think there should be an additional recommendation in that regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mazavatela.
Yeah. Maybe just to add on what Councillor Tennyson has said, is also when do we look to regularize this contract? It looks like it's becoming a perpetual extension, and how far are we with the SCM processes of getting this contract to be regularized, if ever we will be? Because the first extension was for 6 months, and I think now we are beyond that. So it looks like there will come another report to deal with this irregularity. So the question is, when do we look to regularize this, or will we be done with this project by the time I don't know, in this next coming few months or few weeks. Thanks, Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other speaker? Right, so, Councillor Tennyson, if I heard you correct, did you have any recommendation in writing?
No, I did not formulate anything at this stage, but I asked a question. Is there anybody who should be held responsible in terms of the items listed on page, what was it, 70? Those 8 reasons. I can just mention the request does not meet the requirements of MFMA Act, Municipal Supply Chain Regulations. The request results in a lack of, and this is serious, in a lack of planning and proper monitoring and management of the contract. There was no market analysis conducted. Ensure that there is related service in the market, therefore the market should be tested. So these reasons of non-compliance are serious, and that's why I'm asking the question. First question, or the second question I'm asking is, should there not be consequence management? And in such a case, I'm asking, should we not add an additional recommendation? But the other question that needs to be answered is why in the one part of the report is stated that it is recommended by BAC, but elsewhere in the report on page 69 in the table it says it's not supported. So I just need clarity on that one as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. CM, CFO.
Chair, thank you. I think firstly, the status of deviation was approved. It was considered by all structures of the supply chain management function of the city, meaning this deviation was subject to scrutiny at BAC, subject to being scrutinized at BAC. The various factors that were considered have been then made as a recommendation to the city manager. So on the initial page on the background process, it just explains on page 68, paragraph 3, it explains the process in line with the city's policies, that this is the normal process that unfolds in terms of us considering matters of this nature. But what we can confirm is that this deviation was subject to scrutiny from all supply chain management levels. It was approved for recommendation, and amongst those recommendations is a possible consideration for Group Audits and Risk to conduct an investigation in reference to the irregularities, meaning from a basic perspective, there might have been issues that have been picked up in terms of what could have been done to avoid this. What can we do further to avoid this from repeating itself in the near future? Hence, an element of poor planning does emanate. So at this stage in time, we have subjected this and submitted this as part and parcel of the recommendations to Group Audits and Risk for investigation. I would say let's allow that process to conclude. Once it concludes, it always comes with consequences for any irregularities which have been picked up. But what I can confirm is that indeed it was followed through the necessary processes. It was approved accordingly as well. Section 32 prospect of possibility has been put forward. It's currently under scrutiny from Group Audits and Risk. Thanks, Chair.
The tag of potential irregular expenditure and the factors that are then those areas of non-compliance. Those are standard areas, Chairperson. That is what we look at when we want to evaluate: is there particular non-compliance? So these ones are the standard. They are not in any way suggesting that all of these were present in this case, because that is not correct. So that's the one part. Then these services are still being delivered by the Tshwane Rapid Transport Pty Limited. That is the inception services for the bus rapid transport, and that will come to an end as soon as the BOCA is then finally implemented. Then they will take over those services, what we would call inception services. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I take note of what has been said, and specifically also in terms of what the CFO has mentioned, and I would just like it to be noted that in the minutes that the CFO has told the committee that further investigation, that the matter has been sent for further investigation to Group Audit and Risk. So I would just like that to be noted accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. As recommended. Thank you. We'll go to report number 3, is the Group Financial Services, Supply Chain Management Division. Supply Chain Management Performance Report for the first quarter of 2024-2025 financial year. The report is found on page 72 to page 164, with recommendations on page 164. Any takers? Councillor Tennyson.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to ask a couple of questions in this regard, starting with the first paragraph on page 73, which states that within 10 days of the end of each quarter, the report must be submitted to the mayor in this regard. So the first question is, was the report submitted to the executive mayor within the 10-day period as specified on page 73? And when was the report submitted to the Section 79 Public Accounts Committee? When must the report be submitted to the Public Accounts Committee after it was submitted there to the executive mayor? Is it reasonable to submit the report 140 days after the end of the quarter? We're almost at the end, well, we are at the end of the following quarter. Paragraph 3, this is the second question. Paragraph 3, table 1 on page 78 states, unlike the old SAP acquisition, has not been able to retrieve the quotations as per designated groups from the new SAP. The section is working on this matter and helped by ICT on the new SAP being rolled out. Has the situation been fixed since the new SAP? Because we are 140 days after this period, so that is the first question. Is the new SAP or SAP for HANA working in this regard? And if not, when will this matter be resolved? Then on table 1 on page 78, it relates to quotations between 2,000 and 30,000 rand. The total value is specified per month for the period is 19.1 million. How many orders were placed? For what items were the orders? For which departments were these orders? Who were the orders placed with? Then table 3, page 78, also the quotations between 30,000 and 750,000. The value is specified for the month, but the same scenario plays into this. This is a summary, so it is very difficult for us to ascertain whether and to do proper oversight if we do not have the content revealed to us in the report. It's very important for us. The same will apply on page table 7, page 80. There, it's a similar situation. And then there's another problem. I would like clarity on the time frame specified in table 7 and table 8. Just to give you a couple of examples, it is specified that it must be within 120 days from the date of the tender, when the tender was advertised. If that is the case, just a couple of examples. Item 1 on page 80, it is recorded it's 125 days, when in actual fact it's 201 days. You can go and calculate that. Item 2, page 80, it's recorded as 104 days. It's 140 days, if you calculate the days correctly. So I can go on to each and every item. Item 3, page 4. Item 3 and 4, page 81, 255 days, but in actual fact, it's 279 days. So it appears that the report content is misleading us, and it's not speaking to the actual requirements in terms of the supply chain policy. So I would like clarity on where the days that's specified in this report. Is it based on the 120 days after the advertisement, or is it based on what date, what other date is it based? Because then the content of the report is incorrect. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Tsepo.
Thanks a lot. Going through the report, I see issues that we deliberate on in NPAC for many years now. The issue number 1 is the issue of the starting and completing of appointment of contractors to meet the obligation of the city. I need clarity on that one. Who regulates this? What happens if something stays on the bidding processes, or trying to get service provider for 2 months, 3 months? Who deals with this? Who is responsible for making sure that there's compliance as in that regard? Number 2, another elephant in the room is the specifications. I'm a ward councillor. I have to call public meetings. I'm in MPEC. Yesterday I had to study documents. Somebody is a director in the office. His work is to make sure that specifications are available. We are dealing with deviations. We are working overtime, dealing with irregular expenditure, process not being followed. And the cause of all those things is simply in this report. Because if people can comply, make sure that the specifications are ready by the time that they are needed, if people can make sure that they deal with the processes of adjudications, appointment in time, we wouldn't have contracts that we have to deviate because of there's no contract in place and service has to be done. And once we can get this supply chain in order, everything else will flow. But at the present moment, the biggest challenge is in the supply chain, and it's affecting the whole system. And a director in the office would know that the contract ends in June, and they just wait for June. After June, they react. We have to deviate. We have to have consequence management, and these things are unnecessary. If we know that by June I'll be needing a new contract in place, what are the steps I'm taking to make sure that I prepare in time? Can we have systems in place? It's like there's no systems in place. It becomes a problem, or if we don't deal with these things directly. It's time we go with head on and try to deal with the supply chain processes and get to see how we get them right. Because we are talking the same thing all the time. Every MPEC, I know when going through this report, I just go straight to these 2 issues. And they are the reason why everything is collapsing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Before the CMCFO chips in, Councillor Maratula.
Thank you very much. I think the latter speakers have covered the majority of what we wanted to raise, but maybe a quick one. I see on this chair a lot of these SCM reports that we have in front of us continue to reference the delays to the BEC committee, either the appointment of the committee or the meetings not correcting because members not being available. Maybe if we can get clarity on that. One, why the delay in appointments? Okay, people not coming to meetings could be for various reasons. But the appointments, why do we have a problem appointing if we do have a problem, because it's coming up a lot in this? But secondly, there was a point in the city where we were discussing outsourcing this BEC function. Maybe if we can get clarity, is it a favorable thing? If not, why is it not? Because it looks like we are having a problem with BEC. Not too many problems with BAC, but BEC, it seems like it's a problem based on what I'm reading on all of these SCM reports. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. CFO, CM.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with the first set of questions. Yes, submissions to the relevant structures of council have been made and are made accordingly. In terms of submission to Section 79 MPEC committee, we normally submit in line with the process plan that we have, unless, of course, there's normal specialized reports that are requested. But this submission is made in line with the process plan and the reports that have been outlined by MPEC. But I think we are, of course, ready to ensure submissions at any point in time when the reports are requested. On the supply chain management system, I think further and over and above S4HANA being implemented, we have currently implemented Ariba as well, which is currently up and running, particularly on the procurement of a lesser range between 0 to 750. We're monitoring the implementation of this automation. We're currently still in the process of rolling it out to the upper echelons of the procurement system. In terms of the breakdowns of the quotations and breakdowns of the orders that have been given for the various periods, I think that's readily available. It just would have made this report extremely bulky, but I think it's readily available and we should be in a position to make that available to the committee. In terms of finalizing and concluding tenders within 120 days, firstly, we start counting from the date of closing adverts, not when the advert is issued. When it closes and we receive a closing register and it's accordingly published on the website, we then start from day one. Further to that, we exclude certain days which are non-working days in nature, which I think is what's causing the discrepancy. But I can confirm that there isn't an element of misleading the committee on the number of days. We have tried to ensure that we count accordingly from availability and publishing of the closing register, as well as excluding some days which are not non-working days in nature. The second set of questions in reference to the completion of appointment of service providers and what process is to be followed for the end-to-end process. I think what we do is also touch on the latter part of the question from Honorable Councillor Mazebetela. What we're currently trying to do is we do appoint committees on time. We, in some instances, have no choice but to appoint special committees in order to accelerate certain programs that are essentially in nature. Yes, the city runs a number of programs and the members of these BECs are still individuals who are still engaged in the normal day-to-day work. So sometimes it's us finding a balance in terms of executing your day-to-day work and also finalizing the extraordinary responsibility that has been given to you, Chair, in terms of sitting on a BEC and executing procurement-related work as well. So in some instances where we are unable to have a quorum, we have allowed the process of appointing an additional member on the spot through the relevant structure of council. City Manager's Office is extremely responsive in terms of accelerating that. Additional to that, in the event that there are specific programs that need special attention now, we appoint special committees and we give them a specified amount of time to complete that particular process. We also identify segregated boardrooms for completion of various programs and various tasks in order to increase transparency, accountability, and monitoring the work of the BECs that we have. Many big programs which have been concluded within this respective time, we have seen a big minimization in litigations that we have been part and parcel to in the past. I think this is something that we are proceeding with. It is adding value. And then lastly, in terms of the completion of specifications, this is work in progress. We are constantly working with each other and the team to try and improve. A particular focus that we're doing differently this time around is, as of now, we're busy finalizing conditional grant-related specifications for advert at the end of this month. This will then enable us to ensure that going into the new financial year, Chair, we at least have a process on board where service providers or the supply chain management process is at least at an advanced stage, so that within the first 2 months of the financial year, we should hit the ground running on projects. This is something that is also going to be rolled out on all other OPEX-related projects, particularly ones that have a big impact on availability of materials and improving service delivery. We have given departments up until the end of this month. We are expecting all specifications for all conditional grant-related projects in order to move forward the process and to try and increase reduce the risk of specifications being submitted late or incomplete specifications. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Second, followed by Councillor Matsibakula and Councillor Chinesi.
Thanks. I believe the City of Tshwane is an institution, and we need to have institutionalized principles. I appreciate the as and when answers that I got, but we need to have systems in place. And I believe every contractor that is adjudicated is needed at certain systems. And some is for compliance because the auditor general will come, will have material issues because of we are not compliant because we don't have certain things in place because of bidding committees did not sit and all that. We want to have something that speaks to all the biddings to make sure that in the City of Tshwane, whether significant or not, we have bidding processes that run accordingly and there's no delays. We want to have a system that says in the City of Tshwane, there will not be a delay in specification. There's consequences. It's a law. It should be something like a law that says that you must make sure if you are a department, you must make sure that by the time the specification are needed, they are available. And if they are not available, it's an automatic consequence management. And it must be a law that if you are part of the bidding committee, you are supposed to complete in 2 weeks. It should be 2 weeks. It should not be a discretion of some sort, because we all fail. We all fail because of somebody is a discretion. If I feel like I want to go to a bidding committee, I go. If I don't go, I don't go. I do other jobs. Maybe we should say on Thursdays, all directors and you are not going to a normal duty is bidding per day. All of you expect you to be there. If you're not there, you are absent from work. We need to follow all the processes. We need some systems in place. It can be on discretion. If people have feelings, if they feel like it, if they are happy with the process, they go. If they're not happy, they decide to abscond and nothing happens. And that's how it has been business as usual. But something must change now. We have been talking about this 8 years in the impact. It's my 9th year now. It's the same thing. Specification, BAC, not parading. And it can't go on like that. Something has to change now. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Councillor Matsibakula.
I think I'm a bit covered by Councillor Akahle there, but also appreciate the inputs of the CFO. Maybe also get into commit, led by the CM, to say what the CFO has presented before us is that they've put systems in place to mitigate against this, because this is a very old report. So in other words, in the coming reports, we will see an improvement in terms of the awards and the turnaround time. Specifically, I'm focusing again on the BEC because it seems like this is where things are getting stuck on the BEC adjudications. Further to that, my question was not answered. What would be the implications of outsourcing this function of BEC so the directors, Councillor can go and do their normal day job, and we get a private company or entity that will come and deal with these issues of BEC? Because also in council we have seen, maybe people are also afraid that we have seen where now officials are now asked to pay back certain money due to irregular awards. So maybe people are afraid to sit in these BECs, and hence maybe CM is having a difficulties appointing people. So how about we take this functionality of BEC and we outsource that functionality, and we allow that to be done privately so that we can hold people accountable if there's a need to do so. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to sponsor an additional recommendation that the Quarter 2 report be submitted to the next impact meeting, providing answers to the questions that's been put forward. Some of it was answered by the CFO, but others were not yet answered, and I think we need a more comprehensive report in that regard. Proposed by myself and seconded by Council Sipin.
Okay, the CM maybe must go first. I'll read this on record once. Thank you.
Chair, the quarter two report has just gone through the mayoral committee. It must still go to council because, and once it's been to council, because that's the normal run of these reports. Council has not yet dealt with this. I think it's going to deal with the quarter two at this next meeting. So subsequent to that, so I think the next macro meeting may be a bit of a problem. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chair, thank you. I think indeed we are putting systems in place to institutionally change around the internal controls around supply chain management environment. It's something that we know and we understand can only be effected or perfected within the medium to long term due to the consistency in the programs that we're currently putting on board. So the systems that we're putting on board are evolving on a day-to-day basis. We're learning from the mistakes that we've seen in the past, and we're trying to mitigate them moving forward. So there will be an improvement moving forward, and we should see such an improvement in further reports that come through. I just particularly want to touch on one element of outsourcing of the EC functions, where it's something in terms of the law that we presume it's a function that allocates the accounting officer and the team within the city of Tshwane. It's very difficult to confirm whether this could be outsourced or not, and by now I can say by law might not be applicable, and we can't or we're not allowed to outsource the functions of BEC due to the nature and the structure of the SM regulations and the MFMA in its entirety. But I think from our perspective, what we need to do and what we will continue to put a pressure on ourselves is to improve the entire value chain of supply chain management. It hasn't been fully functional, we agree. In fact, in some instances, there have been many deficiencies where management has acknowledged, but the remedial measures that we're putting on board, also in terms of holding individuals accountable for non-sitting of various committees or approval of late structures of specifications later, that's something that we're currently doing as well. There are many instances where we will have stern discussions and issue warnings to colleagues as a result of a deficiency of that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ting.
Thank you, Chair. Taking into consideration the comments made by the city manager, we can amend that date for the more comprehensive report to the impact meeting of May, which would then make provision for what needs to be done. So that if we change that recommendation, just to, instead of saying at the next impact meeting, we'll do it at the May meeting that will be held in May.
No, thank you very much, Councillor Jameson. The recommendation before me is that the quarter two report be submitted in the May 2025 impact meeting that provides answers to the above questions. And of course, the questions are stated and shall be captured in the minutes. It is proposed by Alderman Eugene Tennyson, seconded by K. Sinclair. As recommended. Thank you. And then we have report number 4, under part 5, which is from Group Financial Service Department, Bulk Services, ESCOM and Water Board monthly reports for 2024-2025 financial year. The report is found on page 165 to page 184 with recommendation on page 169. Any takers? Yes, Councillor.
No, thanks, Chairperson. In relation to this report, CFO, just wanted to get a clarity here on the position with ESCOM. This page 166. There is an agreement with ESCOM in relation to the historical debt. And one of the agreement is that there will be no charge of interest on historical debt. But there is a condition attached, and that condition is that based on the conditional upon that the current consumption account being maintained on a current status, meaning that the current account is being paid up. That is the condition. But if you go down, you realize that in relation to the January invoice from ESCOM consumption, energy consumption, realize that the current account was not being settled in full. In fact, we were owing around 100 and something million, and the city paid 500 million towards the January invoice, and with 574 million remaining for settlement to take effect at the end of February. And the question is that does this not going to affect the arrangement we had with the ESCOM, particularly because there is a condition that we need to maintain our current energy invoice, but as per it indicate on the report, it seems that January we couldn't meet that commitment. That this not going to affect the agreement that we are having, and what is the current status in relation to the 574 million that is owed to the ESCOM? Does it been paid for January, and what's happening with the February 1? Was it being paid up to date as well, or what's happening? Because my fear is that if we don't want the agreement that the current ESCOM consumption need to be up to date, will be in contradiction with the agreement we signed with ESCOM. Thank you.
Thank you. There was a hand. Maybe you'll then come through to summarize the answers. Councillor Merchant.
Thanks, Chair. We take note of the report, but my concern is there's improvement. You can see there's a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of where we're intending to go. But one that serious challenge of concern here when we're talking about management of our expenditure. But vis-a-vis revenue collections, we've got serious challenges, especially around the two issues in this report, being water and electricity, especially around the issues of the distribution losses. And I'm taking advantage of this report to raise this issue. If you were to ask a question about distribution losses, underwater you'll be told about 42% for us as a city that we're losing, we can't account for. And if you were to further investigate or ask questions, you will be told that the culprit is illegal connections and in particular informal settlements. For the longest time, we've been given that reason. And now recently, I've discovered that we've been fishing in the wrong pond. Recently in the city, we've discovered that there's plus minus 10,000 accounts that were not billing correctly or were not billing at all for waste collection services. I'm not sure how far is that process. Recently in the city, as and when we are going around doing work, we are discovering that big institutions have illegally connected onto our services, both electricity and water. The question is, what is it that we are doing about it? Because we keep on blaming ordinary residents when they are small fries. But our biggest problem lies with big clients in this city. And we're painting this rosy picture about our expenditure, whereas our revenue collection is in tatters. And I would find comfort if those issues were raised here. Not for us to just be given this rosy picture. We appreciate this, well and good. It tells you that there's somewhere where we're going. But if we're also not linking this with revenue challenges that we're having, so that when we spend something that we know that in as far as revenue collection, at least there is also an improvement. Then we're able to can link the two. Because it's pointless to manage your expenditure while your revenue generation is in tatters. That is a big problem to me. And if I were to get comfort to say what is it that we are doing in particular on the bulk losses in as far as the two, water and sanitation and electricity, and in particular the third aspect of waste collection, then I would say this is indeed a good story in terms of what we're being told on this report. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Matabandela, I will come to you, the CM or CFO afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, maybe just a correction, I think, on the report. It's referring to an ESCOM debt of 600 million. We know it should be in 600 billion. I think it's page 6 billion, sorry. It's page, in fact, the first page of the report, 165. Under paragraph 4, the amount of 6.661 million, I think it should read billion. That would make sense. But having said that, Chair, I want to agree with Councillor Marishang as to say what is it that we are doing to deal with the losses, both of water and electricity. And I'm not going to paraphrase what Councillor Marishang has said, and I'm eagerly awaiting the response of the administration. But maybe this one to the CFO is to say, how much are we paying towards the 6.6 billion? What is the agreement? How much are we paying? I know there was an initial amount of 400 million that had to be paid in November, if not December. And then subsequently, I'm sure there is an agreement of every month how much are we paying towards the 6 billion. Based on my calculation, if we're at 601, it looks like we're paying around 200 million a month. And maybe, Chair, based on the response, I might have a follow-up. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, CFO.
Thank you, Chairperson. The answers would be divided between myself and the CFO. And I'll start with the ESCOM matter first and then go over to the issue around our revenue recovery system. Firstly, we are on par as far as the repayment of our ESCOM debt is concerned, we are complying with and we are in compliance with the court order. In other words, there is not a single cent that is outstanding. Let me explain the reference to the 540 million that was paid in February. Every account has a 30-day period within which it can be paid. So the January account was until the end of January. We have until the end of February to pay it. So the point that we are making in the report is that 2 points. The first is that we do not wait until the end of February to pay that account, and we do so for cash flow reasons. So there is a cash flow consideration that underpins all of our repayments, not only in terms of the current account, but also in terms of the historical debt. Hence, we indicated in the report that we have paid that R500 million by the middle of February, and the rest was then paid in installments during the course of that very same month. That is the point that we want to convey with that. Then the amount that we have that is outstanding, 6.6 billion. That is correct. The amount that you see there on paragraph 4 on the second line, it reads 6,000 million. That's what it says. It says there 6,000 million. So 6,000 million equals to 6 billion. So it is just the way that it is said, and I think next time, CFO, I will advise the CFO to then indicate it rather in billion, so that there's not a misunderstanding. So we have then paid of that, as the CFO has indicated, about 600 million of that. Now, part of the agreement that we have with ESCOM, and is part of the court order, is that there are months in which we pay the historical debt. We do not pay every month, again, for cash flow reasons. But it's part of the agreement, and we pay then in terms of that agreement. We also do not pay interest. Interest has been halted. To give you an idea, and for purpose of being complete, we would pay in any particular year around 750 million rand in interest. So we anticipate to save in interest because of this, half of that, because this started towards the end of January or December. So there's about 6 or 7 months of interest that we will now not pay. And that is a lot of money. It's in excess of 350 million rand. And that will continue. So there's a significant saving also in terms of in fact, our irregular expenditure will then be decreased by that amount, because as soon as you pay interest, it becomes irregular expenditure. And it is, of course, subject then to being audited and findings, etc. So that is as far as the ESCOM debt is concerned. And I want to assure, as I move into the next section, I want to assure members of the committee chairperson that we are comfortable, we are paying this, and what enables us to pay is our performance as far as revenue collection is concerned. So I want to move on to that point now. Currently, it is now not part of this report, because I do think it should be a separate report, chairperson, as far as financial performance is concerned, so that one doesn't unnecessarily clutter a report with two strands of reporting, one on financial management and the other one then on the management of our bulk providers. But we are currently collecting at a rate of 90%. Our target is 92%. So clearly there is a difference. And that difference we have taken into account now with our adjustment budget. But importantly, the adjustment budget indicates very clearly that there is also a funding plan, a revised funding plan, to deal with the current shortcoming that we have, about 1.4 billion rand, in order to get to a funded budget. And it says what it is that we will do. Those additional revenue raising matters are clearly spelled out there, and they are then being managed and or overseen rather by the MACO. So there are very particular actions that need to be taken. For example, on those 10,000 accounts, those accounts that have not been billed. So those accounts have been identified. They should be billed from the end of this month of March. So, for example, that is an action. We have also identified properties where there are schools of the Gauteng province, but that have not been transferred to them. It's around 20 to 21 schools that are on urban. We are currently busy with those transfers. We've identified them. We're busy with the transfers. There are a significant amount that have gone through the MACO, but they are targeted so that we know that by a particular month, again, we are pushing that we have it all going through the MACO system now during March, so that we can start collecting on rates. That amount is around, and the CFO will correct it, but standing on rates would be in the vicinity of around 100 million for all of those schools for the period. You can correct me, because I'm speaking off the top of my head and I'm very aware that I can't mislead you. There is also very particular actions that we are undertaking in dealing with our revenue losses, and you are quite correct. Our problem does not necessarily lie with residency. That's not where the problem lies. The problem lies with big companies, businesses that are either illegally connected, or it's not being metered properly, or it's on our meters. Large power users that we know that we need to get to. About 18 of them, and we are currently evaluating their meters to make sure that they are correct, or that they actually report back to us. So there are very particular actions that we have identified in terms of our financial recovery plan per department that will enhance over and above that revenue that we have identified. So there is a number that we have, which is about 2 billion rand that we aim to target with additional. But that 2 billion rand we did not build into our adjustment budget. We did not build that in, for the simple reason we are putting everything in our efforts to get that money, to ensure that not only are we going to go in the ordinary events, deal with our deficit, but we will ensure that we actually surpass that. And I think that is the purpose. That is what this MACO has approved as a package for the adjustment budget. So certainly, as far as I'm concerned, as the accounting officer, we have put those measures in place to ensure that we shore up the revenue collection component. And lastly, As far as overseeing is concerned, we have a retro every second week, but I also have what I call RPTA, the Revenue and Tax Administration recovery, that we are monitoring on a weekly basis. We have a number of indicators, and those indicators tell us the extent to which we are on or off, and what is it that we would need to ensure that we stick to our targets. With your permission, if there's anything I've left out, I want to just hand to the CFO, especially that one amount that I may be wrong at. Thank you.
Thank you, CM. Starting on that amount, it is indeed 100 million owed. And further to that, the additional properties that we identified that were subject to the normal process that we recently followed. I just want to touch on the actual payment plan for the power utility. If you refer to page 70 to 173, we've attached a detailed order which clearly stipulates the dates and times where each payment will be done. So I think that's where you'll be able to find the number of payments and the amount for each period. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you, CM and CFO. Councillor Mazivatela. Then we'll follow.
Yeah, maybe mine is on the lighter note. I should have waited for colleagues to come first. I see the CM there is schooling me on mathematics. Correctly so, it's 6,661 million, which amounts to a billion. But let me school you a little bit further. Then you should read a million. So at the end, it must be million, not just 1 million, to make it a 6 billion. Thank you very much.
No, thanks very much for the explanation from both CFO and CM. But the quick one, I heard CM, you put this emphasis on the issue of revenue generation. But the quick one is that had the administration thought of selling unutilized assets to generate an income? I understand that it might be a short-term solution, but it might assist in easing burden to our revenue generation. The city has a lot of unutilized assets in your asset register that could be utilized by some organ of state that we can sell to them, we can auction, then we generate an income on a short basis. Well, because the funding plan might take time to give us fruit. So at the same time, we need to check on other methods that we can utilize to increase our income. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. We've heard about the 10,000 accounts not being built, and we've heard about the properties that's going to be transferred to the Gauteng province. And again, very good work. Thank you for that. There is, however, another matter that I've been personally monitoring, and I'm not hearing and I'm not seeing anything about this. And that has to do with those 10,000 water meters in Olivenheidsbosch, where people are still paying tariffs of about 10 or 12 years back that have still not been normalized, and people are not paying the correct amount of water. Now, that's a huge amount of revenue there as well that the city is not collected, because those meters need to be changed first, and secondly, people need to be charged the correct water tariff. And as I pointed out, they have not paid the correct water tariff for over a decade. And I'm not seeing anything about this anymore. I know it was in the previous, a few months back or a year back, this was a matter that was being looked at. Can I just get an update? What's the current status of that matter? Because there's a lot of revenue there to be collected as well. Thank you.
Thank you. CFO.
Thanks, yeah. I think the first one in terms of disposal of immovable properties or non-core assets that's a process that's currently under consideration. It is a big element of our funding plan, and it's being discussed with various structures of council as well. We anticipate in that plan that this should be something that must have made significant strides before the end of the financial year. 10,000 water meters in Oliver North Bosch. The process of changing and replacing them is part and parcel of our plans. The group for water and sanitation is working on this, similarly with all other items. We have been having discussions in terms of changing those prepaid meters for water back to normal conventional meters, which will give us additional strength as a city.
Thank you. As recommended. Thank you. We will then move to report number 5, the City Strategy and Organizational Performance Department, Local Government, Municipal Finance Management Act, Section 52G, Quarter 2 report, and Section 72 Media Performance Assessment report on the implementation of the Service Delivery and Budget Implementation Plan, SDBIP. The report is found on page 185 to page 529, with recommendations on page 201. Any takers? Yes, Councillor Sifo.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in terms of paragraph 3 of the report, which is part of the background, it says it is worth noting that at this stage, the reported results of quarter 2 have not yet been quality assured by the City Strategy and Organizational Performance Department, nor audited by the Group Audit Risk Department. As part of the combined assurance model adopted by the City, the results are reported as provided by the responsible line function department and entities. Some results reported to Council at the end of quarter 1 have been audited and updated in this report. This is a practice undertaken to improve reliable and useful reporting. With regards to that question, my question is the process of quality assurance so tedious that performance target of the first quarter, even to date, some haven't audited? So what measures in the meantime are we putting in place to ensure that whatever information that we have, it's indeed quality assured, and it's not just information from a line manager? What measures are we putting in place to avoid such in the future? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other hand? CFO? Oh, okay, no, before. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, mine on this report really is to raise concerns about the continued poor performance of the two city entities of trader and housing company and so on. Yeah, really is a concerning matter because out of the 14 targets that Trader was supposed to have performed, they only achieved 5 targets, which is about really 35.7%. It's a despicable real achievement of such an entity. And I don't know why really, I don't know how are they going to try to improve in terms of performance, because the city is bleeding money in terms of the two. They are supposed to really create a sort of revenue, but there's a loss in terms of what they are performing. I acknowledge really and appreciate the improvement in terms of the housing Swane company, but also they need to really try to improve going forward. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you. CM. Okay.
Good morning to the members and colleagues. Thank you very much. Chairperson, I will be answering on the question of quality assurance. Councillor, the quality assurance process is a process of very detailed verification and almost complete 100% audit of all of the background information and source documents related to a particular indicator that is reported. So it's not a matter of just checking on the surface, it's a matter of going through a full audit and verification exercise. If you look at the reporting timeframes, the reports are submitted by departments as at the end of every quarter. And these reports are submitted by the 5th of the following month. The process of combining, of looking at and putting together these reports doesn't allow for sufficient time. The audit and verification exercise normally takes a few weeks. Hence, the process starts, but you cannot conclude on it in the report within the quarter. Therefore, you would see, for example, that the Q1 results that were reported to Council, there is now a column in the report, as we've indicated, where we've gone back and advised Council, this is what line functions did in terms of first level assurance, and this is what the CSOP and the Group Audit and Risk Department did in terms of second level assurance, and here are the final figures in terms of report compared to reported results. What is now also happening going forward to try and close the gap and to improve on the reliability of reporting is that in this quarter, for example, in this third quarter, there's a lot of work that has been happening around working with the departments to improve on their systems, and there is monthly auditing that will be happening within each quarter. So when results are presented at the end of a quarter, there would be at least 2 months worth of audit and verification work done for every 3 months in a quarter, so that we get much more reliable results into Council. That will give you a very good indication of whether we can trust the performance, and also to close on any of the potential audit risks, audit outcome risks that we face with the Auditor General. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. As recommended. Thank you. Colleagues, will go to the first supplementary for agenda. And then we have 2 matters for consideration. Then we'll have confidential reports. So how we're going to do this is that we'll deal with all matters, and then we'll entertain the confidential reports right there at the end. So we'll also do the calling of reports and so on. Then we'll stop the live streaming and so on. On your first supplementary agenda, we have report number 1. Under part 1 is from Group Financial Department, report on the status of contract management in the City of Tshwane, Metropolitan Municipality and Departments. The report is found on page 4 to page 8 with recommendations on page 8. Any takers? Okay. Councillor Sinclair and then Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of this report, at the state of contract management, the SCM has observed that there is a chronic lack of contract management capacity throughout the city. where the principle of contract management are ignored or not enforced, which impacts negatively on the city's mandate to deliver basic services. Chair, this is very disturbing to the fact that an institution as large as the city of Tshwane, throughout this, there's a chronic lack of contract of management. I don't know what the city is doing to capacitate our officials to move from that stage. And also the question with regards to the measures implemented by the city manager. Are we satisfied with those measures that we are getting out of the woods? Do we see any improvement? If none, what do we plan on doing with regards to that? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Tennyson.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in addition to what has just been said, I would like to just refer you to paragraph 5.1 on page 7, which states, amongst others, a comprehensive report on the status of contract management should be submitted. Then Section 40 of the MSA requires a municipality to establish mechanisms to monitor and review its performance management system. And then, in accordance to clause 4.5(2) of the supply chain policy and preferential procurement, approved by the Council on the 6th of June last year, the accounting officer of the municipality or municipal entity must take all responsible steps to ensure the contract or management procedure that the supply chain management policy of the municipality or municipal entity is properly enforced, monitor on a monthly basis the performance, establish capacity in the administration, assist the accounting officer in carrying out the duties as set out, and regularly report to council of the municipality or the board of directors as may be appropriate. Now, taking all of this into consideration, Chair, I feel that this is far from a comprehensive report. It does not provide answers on most of what was just being read to you. Therefore, I would like to sponsor another recommendation regarding this report, that the report, in view of the fact that the report contains none of the above, which I've just mentioned, and should therefore be referred back to include comprehensive details, including every contractor per department, performance measurement used, achievement against SLAs, the risks for the city, which is a large risk, and corrective measures or mitigations taken in the case of underperformance and risks, and that the comprehensive updated report be submitted by no later than the 9th of May 2025. Proposed by myself and seconded by Councillor Sefeng.
Thank you. Thank you, the Secretary, will assist us. Is there any other hand? Is there anything that the CFO CM want to respond to? Oh, yes. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, this is a question, especially in terms of really the information that shows that there's a lot of decentralized services in terms of these contractual contract management systems. What is the impact really of this decentralizing? Why don't they try to centralize for coordination purposes? Thanks.
CFO, CM.
Thanks, Chair. I think I'll start. In terms of capacitating our officials, we are working together with legal as well as the provincial government. In fact, last week we had an engagement with them in terms of trying to improve on the conflict management environment. But I think I want to further articulate how we manage commitments and contract management. From a centralized perspective, it's when we consolidate all commitments and include them accordingly in the city's financial statement. Contract management includes, it's decentralized purely from the perspective of saying that project management occurs at a departmental level and at a user level. So it's more efficient if the decentralization is more efficient rather than a centralized system at this stage in time. But I think possibly we could bring back an additional annexure to this report, which would then include all the contractors. But I think the purpose of this report was to outline the contract management process that the city embarks on and how contract management is handled in its entirety. That was the request that management was responding to. But I think as an annexure, we could include the details of the commitment register and commitment listing, which then takes into account every single contract that's active within the city, with the deadline dates, when it started, when it's ending. Also, the performance management sheets that are included in that as well. Various SOPs have been concluded in terms of improving the status quo, which I would say we provided as an annexure, but the report did try and cover many of the request that was done by MPEC in the previous round. Thanks.
Thank you. Right. The recommendation here is that I'm going to read it in record, is that this report contains none of the above and should therefore be referred back to include comprehensive details, including every contractor per department, performance management used, achievement against SLAs, risk for the city, corrective measures or mitigation taken in the case of underperformance and risk. Two, that the comprehensive updated report be submitted not later than 9th of May 2025, proposed by Councillor Alderman Eugene Tennyson on the 7th of March 2025, and seconded by Councillor K. Sinfeng, 7th March 2025. As recommended. Thank you. We're going to report number 2 on the first supplementary agenda is from Group Financial Service Department. Group Financial Services, in brackets, the Supply Chain Management Division, irregular expenditure report for the financial year of 2022-2023. The report is found on page 9 to page 14 with recommendations on page 14. Can you take us? That's recommended. Oh, is there hand? Okay, yes.
No, thanks, man. Sorry, man. I thought maybe there would be some inputs coming from members, but wanted to speak of recommendation number 2, the original recommendation, that the Section 79 Committee, Municipal Public Accounts, be mandated to investigate the identified irregular expenditure and make a recommendation to Council for a determination, as required by Section 3.2, subsection 2 of Local Government Municipal Finance Management Act. We don't have an issue with that particular recommendation, Chair, but then we need to add additional recommendation to give a direction to the original recommendation. As you know that mostly Section 32 reports are being investigated by group audit and risk. So we need to propose additional recommendation along those lines, that the report be referred to group audit and risk for investigations of identified irregular expenditure and make recommendation to MPEC for consideration. Proposed by Councillor Ruben Mosela, seconded by Councillor Ofenzema Zewate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Perdo will assist us. Is there any other input or question? Okay, just await the recommendation. Thank you. The additional recommendation that has been submitted to me is that the report be referred to group audit and risk for investigations of identified irregular expenditure and make a recommendation to MPEC for consideration. Proposed by Councillor Ruben Mosela, seconded by Councillor Ofenzema Zewate. Yes, recommended. Thank you. The report number 3 is in committee together with the second supplement that has 2 reports. Then we will be going back to the main agenda to deal with the calling of reports. Then once the reports are called, we will then adjourn, and then we'll go back to, we'll go to in committee, and then we'll stop the study. Right. We're going to start with the calling of reports. Are there any reports that councillors want to call from the floor? Councillor?
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like to call for the following report that the current state of affairs regarding expenditure on disciplinary actions taken for the previous 2 financial years, that is 2022-2023 and 2023-2024, as well as the current year, 24-25 to date. Motivation: in view of a recent newspaper article published in the Sunday Times regarding an amount of 44 million rand incurred by the city for local costs paid to a firm where an official was previously employed. I've also inserted the article in the Sunday Times. Sorry, I just need to write 16. It was on the 16th of February 2022, 2025, this article. In addition to that, we also need to have information with regards to item 13 contained in the February Council agenda. The amount paid to 51 officials suspended, of whom 43 have been suspended for longer than 90 days at the cost of 9.3 million rand. In the report must include the following: total cost incurred in legal fees per case, and list the cases. To which legal firms were payments made, and how much per firm per year was paid. What is the average rate per hour charged for disciplinary chairpersons? What is the average rate charged for disciplinary panels for prosecutors? How many cases were submitted for arbitration? List the cases with total employee cost and legal cost per case. How many cases were lost and how many were won? List the cases with the total employee cost as well as the legal cost per case. How many have been taken on review, list the cases with the total employee cost and legal cost per year, and how many orders were placed against, how many orders were granted against the city, include the total monetary value that the city had to pay and to whom. In addition, I would also attach an annexure A with the following 4 questions, or the following 4 requirements. Please provide the report on the detailed procurement process followed when appointing a law firm. Please also include on the report the contractual agreement signed by both the city and the law firm in question, and that what are the terms of the contract. If the procurement process followed when appointing the law firm included the normal tender bidding process, kindly provide details. Report on the other law firms which submitted bidding for the tender and how was Lawton's Africa ultimately chosen or preferred over others. And please provide on your report a detailed expenditure breakdown invoicing by the city on this law firm since their appointment date. Why do we need this report? Well, to establish the cost paid for legal representation, to establish the cost incurred in paying salaries to suspended officials with no value to the Metro, and to ascertain why there are so many people suspended for prolonged periods exceeding 90 days. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alderman. We're going to need someone to second this, so I'm just going to ask for 5 minutes because there's only one.
Chair, I second. I thought I signed that request, Chair.
Okay. Let's comply with it. Then dispose of the request in question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to request a report on tender 02-2016/2017. There are stories that this tender is not all above board, so I'd like Group Audit and Risk and the Audit Committee to tell us what's happening with the investigation. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. It seems that we are now compliant. The report that is being called is the current state of affairs regarding the expenditure on disciplinary action taken for the previous two financial years, i.e. 2022, 2023 and 2023-2024, as well as the current year of 2024-2025 to date. This is the attachment of the newspaper that was published on the 16th of February 2025, and then there is the requirements, and then the Annexure A, which also further deals with the requirements. The proposal thereof is Alderman A.G. Tierson and seconded by Councillor K. Singh on the 7th of May 2025. Then the second, Honourable Comrades, Councillor Sangha. Oh, my apology. Tender on the 2016-2017. This is in terms of the Municipal Structures Act for Section 79A MPEC, and then this is proposed by Councillor David Ferguson, and seconder is Councillor Ofense Matsiwate. Is there any other report? Yes, Councillor. Calling of the report.
Thanks, Chairperson. Yeah, this report calls for the water tankers. Actually, it reads like the reports on water tankers, current services progress, and expenditure breakdown for the period of 1 July 2024 to 31 December 2024. The motivation of the report is that with the recurring AG findings, which highlights the city's expenditure on water tankers, MPEC would like to assess if there is indeed value for money insofar as the provision of water to the communities relying on water tankers is concerned. Hence, the need to check first the progress of services currently supplied, and secondly, the expenditure breakdown on the services rendered. Thanks, Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. You want to speak, or you want us to send back the report?
Sure, sir.
Oh, sorry for the report. The report is proposed myself, Councillor Malisela Matlong, and it's going to be seconded by Councillor Godwin Ratikwan. Sorry for that, Chairperson. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there any other hand there? Are you fine?
So far, we wanted to intervene in second, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, thank you. The report that has been called is the report on water tankers for current service progress and expenditure breakdown for the period 1 July 2024 to 31 December 2024. Proposed by Councillor Malesela and seconded by Councillor Ratikwani. Thank you. Right. Is there any other report that has been called? All right. Yes.
Chairperson, just for the integrity of this committee, I feel like we have the powers to just call in a report, investigate the report, and if we find something that is wrong in the report, to comment investigations. Without even quoting other things that are necessary, that will make us astray. So we just have that thing of saying, if we feel there's something wrong somewhere, let's just call the report. When the report comes, we interpret the report. After interpret the report, SMPEC will have our own findings. No newspapers, nothing else, but we'll have our own findings as SMPEC. That triggers us to be able to investigate. And that is our role. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Councillor Sako. That's in order. Colleagues, before you leave, I have an announcement. And it's about 3 announcements, actually. So on the 12th of March 2025, there will be an MPEC hearing. I believe the venue might still be the same as this one. 9 o'clock, yeah? And then the 18th of March 2025, there will be an MPEC special meeting on oversight reports or annual reports. And then the 28th of March 2025, there will be an MPEC inspection in Loco at Tshwane Market. So is the 12th of March, the 18th of March, and the 28th of March, just so that the councillors are ready for all these activities that will be embarked upon by the committee. Then we're going to stop the streaming, so we're not going to come back and stream again.
No, thanks, man.
Yes.
On the announcement, just to check, pre-announcements with those dates, are they part of the process plan or they just emanate from somewhere on an urgent basis?
Yeah, so the one for the 12th is on the process plan. The one on the 18th, it's a special meeting, so it was not part of the process plan. Yeah? And then the one on the 28th has been uploaded on the intranet, but I would assume was not part of the process plan. It was not part of the process plan. But of course, you know the nature of these committees. There might be something that is pressing that was not originally on the process plan, and we really do plan to get the work done. So those who are available would really appreciate if you join us. Thank you. So after we release the colleagues, we're gonna just deal with the confidential items. Yes, Councillor Matswela.
Yeah, Chairperson. So those meetings of yours, they're not compulsory. You must understand that we are part-time councillors. We can't be here 4 times in a month. We don't do those things to us.
Yeah, but oversight is legislated, Councillor Matswela. And yeah. Yeah. All right, Councillor Tsepo.
Maziwandela, yeah, you'll be there, don't stress, or you're gonna come, or we have spent a lot of money from the city.
No, thank you very much. So we're not going to be streaming back. We are done. Once we are finished with the confidential report, we'll then basically close the meeting. Thank you very much for joining us, colleagues. We'll now deal with the confidential reports. Thank you.